today's video is about the 3 different ways that you can be successful as a tax deed investor. So if you're unfamiliar with tax deeds and this is the first time you're, hearing of me or this real estate investing strategy at all, tax deeds are actual properties that are being sold for their delinquent real estate taxes. And the county actually auctions off people's property or property owners' property for their delinquent taxes. Okay. So that's a real thing. It happens every day in your town, USA, right? So there's no specific um, location or anything like that. It happens all the time. So some states are tax lien states, meaning that they auction off the specific year of delinquent taxes, and the investor that purchases those, what they are looking for is a rate of return on their money. And then you have states that auction off the actual property itself for the delinquent taxes, which is quite unique. And then you have other states that do both. They'll have auctions for tax liens as well as tax deeds. Cool. So today's video, we're going to be talking about the 3 different ways that you can be successful as a tax deed investor, meaning that we're talking about the actual property. If you participate in these auctions, you're actually considering purchasing the property itself, all right? So the first part of being successful as a tax deed investor is acquiring the list, meaning downloading the list, getting access to the list. If you don't want to bid on the property, that's cool. That's fine. You actually don't have to with this particular method. So one of the things that I started out doing is getting the list of delinquent properties that are going to auction. They're actually scheduled. They actually have a date. They're on the list and they're getting ready to go to auction. And what I would do is I would cross-reference the information that's on the list for that property. Maybe it's the parcel ID. Maybe it's the legal address. Sometimes it may even have the owner's name. And then I would take that information and cross-reference it over at the property appraiser's website or the property assessor's website, depending on your town, USA, right? They may call them something different. Now, why would I do that? Well, on the property appraiser's website or the assessor, you have the mailing address for that owner, whoever is the actual title owner. You'll have the mailing address there. From that mailing address, then now I have the opportunity to mail them a marketing letter or maybe a postcard, or maybe I'll actually stop by if it's within my area, within my footprint or something like that, go knock on the door, go say hello, drive by, do something, go check it out, see if I could actually get in contact with them and communicate. Now, why would I do that? Their property is getting ready to go to auction, right? So the whole point of contacting the property owner before the auction, I call it the pre-auction strategy, is to help them avoid their property going to auction. This way, for you, the advantage is not having so much competition actually at the auction. You can communicate one-on-one with the property owners and actually structure and create a win-win situation where you can purchase their property and satisfy or redeem their property to get it off of the list, and then avoid all of the competition at the actual auction. So that's the pre-auction strategy. In my course in Tax Deed Genius, we have a marketing letter that we use, a unique one, which communicates directly with the property owner and just educates them and let them know that they have other options. So I definitely give my students those tools to be successful. So let's talk about the actual auction itself. What does that look like? That's number 2. So at the auction itself, one of the things that I'm a huge advocate for is doing your homework, number 1, doing all of the research and the due diligence, not only on the properties that you want to purchase, but also on the properties that you're maybe, or something like that. The worst feeling is only being prepared halfway. That's the worst thing ever. And the reason why I say that is because properties get redeemed all the time. People actually pay their taxes, right? They come up with the money and they satisfy their delinquency, and now their property is no longer even on the list anymore. I can't tell you how many times my students come to me all crying, Jackie, I can't believe they paid their taxes. I'm like, what did you expect? Like they don't want to lose their house at the auction. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, is what I'm saying, right? So the objective is to have multiple opportunities. So the thing that you do is you have a larger list of properties. So you'll have like your priority properties, like the one that you know that you really, really want to bid on. And then you have ones that, okay, if these properties get redeemed, or perhaps somebody at the auction is willing to pay full price. I don't know why people do that, but they do, is willing to pay full price at the auction. We just let them, by the way. Then you have another opportunity for like your plan B properties, if you will, because the last thing you want is to have properties go to the auction and then you didn't do your research on them. And then you're like, oh man, I really want to bid. I really want to purchase these, but I did not do my due diligence or my research. So that's too risky. And then now you're sitting there like, sheesh, not doing anything. So be prepared to put in just a little bit of extra time and to, for that research. So that's like the second strategy, I would say. All right. So the third strategy is as follows. I call this the post-auction strategy, meaning the after, like what happens after the auction. So some investors, including myself, what we do is we look for the properties that sold at the auction for an excess amount, an amount higher than the property taxes that was needed to be collected. So any amount that was sold, so if it was $5,000 for the taxes and the property sold for $20,000, that means it's at like $15,000. Easy math. I don't want to trick anybody. So there's $15,000 in excess funds. It's sold for $15,000 more than the actual delinquent taxes that the county was trying to collect for this actual property. So what happens to that $15,000? Well, it goes into a special pot, if you call it, or a special budget or a special account, if you will, at the county. But that money is eligible to be claimed by certain individuals that's identified in that state law. One of the certain individuals would be like the previous property owner. Sometimes it's a previous mortgage company, or maybe it's like a previous debtor, right? So like a mechanic's lien or something, any type of lien that was on the property. And that's cool. That's fine. If there aren't any additional liens, and you would know that if you had did your homework, then you know that the property owner is like the last person standing, right? And they're the only ones that are eligible to collect because there aren't any other debts on the property at the time. Well, now is your opportunity to send that property owner a letter or try to find them, get their phone number. A lot of times we'll do like skip tracing. Skip tracing is a service like you're trying to get the last known address, last known phone number, last known email address. Maybe you're looking for their social media accounts or something like that. And you would get in contact with those previous property owners so that you could share with them the good news that they may have funds available to be claimed at the county, right? So what your objective is at that time is to assist them with completing their claim documents, right? The claimant. That's your whole objective. And you would include a percentage of like a service charge, if you will, for helping them to do that. So you have a lot of investors that invest a lot of time in that particular strategy, which is the post-auction strategy, collecting surplus and excess funds. But I think for me personally, it's like a numbers thing. You have to send out a lot of communication, a lot of letters, and be really, really good on the phone to make sure that you build rapport and trust and likability, if you will, very early in your relationship with the seller, because at the end of the day, the seller can go and collect the funds without the assistance from anybody, So you have to make sure that you're communicating that, you don't give them any wrong information, and you let them know that, of course, they can go and get it, but you specialize in assisting property owners just like them. That has experienced having a property go to the auction, and like you're an expert and all that cool stuff, right? So there's lots of things to say, right? So in my course, we have a script, kind of like a talking points, if you will, and frequently asked questions of what I have experienced a lot of property owners would ask. So therefore, you're not like sounding as if you don't know how to respond. That's the first thing. You lose credibility like that. You want to be able to respond with answers that meets the need and the objective of the question, right? So those are the three different ways that you can be successful in tax deed. So the pre-auction strategy, which is contacting the property owner prior to the property going to the auction and negotiating a sale or a purchase with like a for sale by owner, type of agreement. So they're the owners and you're just buying it directly from them. The second way is to make sure that you do your due diligence on multiple properties, even the ones you think you're not going to buy. Okay, like your maybes, if you will. Don't just do your due diligence on like one or two, and then those properties actually end up being redeemed right before the auction. And now you don't have anything to bid on because you didn't do your research on anything else. And then number three is the excess fund surplus, or what I call the post-auction strategy, which is to just basically contact the owner after the auction and let them know that you actually can assist them in filling out their claim forms, and you can help them get representation at the county. All right. So too easy. Want more information about how you can be really, really successful in this process, you can actually go to my website, go to www.thejackyjackson.com. You can read all about me. My first deal was in 2006, and I've been investing in real estate ever since. I'm a two-time past board member of one of the largest real estate investment association in the country, second largest in the country, largest in the state, especially, like where I live. Have lots and lots of experience, not just in tax deeds and tax liens, but other strategies such as wholesaling, option agreements, fix and flip, if you will. We also have, what's that? There's so many subject to, like buying houses subject to the existing mortgage, wraparound mortgage, like you name it, I've done it. Okay. There's just a lot of stuff to go over, but I'm really happy to be back. You could, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do. I'll be putting out like weekly updates, weekly videos. So stay tuned and subscribe. Also click that notification button, that notification bell, really important, so that you don't miss anything. You don't miss anything when you log on and click on the Jackie Jackson, right? Anyway, thank you all for watching. I look forward to seeing y'all next week.